So where did you grow up?
I was orphaned when my mother passed away when I was 3, and I was back and forth with different aunts and uncles in Bloomfield, and I lived with my grandmother over in Sharpsburg Hill, and spent most of my time there. And then she passed away. Then I had to go to one of my paternal aunts and stayed with them. Then I was fortunate. I had a teacher in public school who took an interest, and she was from Oakmont, and she got me into Scotland School for Veterans Children. At that time it was Soldiers Orphan School. Then they changed the name to Scotland School for Veterans Children. My dad was one Marine sniper, and he was gassed and shell shocked during the War I. He was back and forth from Pittsburgh to Passaic, Maryland, in the Marine Hospital and the Naval Hospital, and as far as I know. But I know he was, because when I graduated, they looked up your parents and that, and that's the first time I knew that he was a Marine sniper.
And did you know him well?
Well, I knew him because he was gassed and shelled, and he spent most of his time back and forth. And I lived with my paternal aunt and her, 4 or 5 kids.
Did your dad ever talk about the war?
No.
Never told you anything about it?
I was only 4 or 5 years old then.
And when did he die?
And 32 or 34.
Wow.
My mother passed away, and she passed away when I was 3.
Wow.
Like I say, I got a teacher that was interested. She got me into Scotland School.
Right.
And I spent 5 years there. Well, I graduated in 43. But the funny part of it, the superintendent at the time, he was on a draft board in Harrisburg. He says, all right, after graduation, he says, oh, you guys, or a couple of weeks before graduation, he says, all you guys get on a bus, you're in the Army. We went to Harrisburg. All the guys, we went to Harrisburg, we were in the Army.
Right after you graduated?
Yeah. From there I went to Camp Bowie, Texas, that took basic training. And from Bowie I went to Fort Sam Houston.
Now can I ask you, what did you think of Army life?
Well, Scotland School was more military than anything else. I had no problem adjusting to military life. I knew how to take orders, how to give orders.
Can you tell me, do you remember December 7th, 1941?
Yeah.
Tell me about that day.
Well, that was a Saturday, I think, and we were we got the message while we were in school. And then we were told what was going on. It really dawned on me at the time when they told us to get on a bus, go to Harrisburg, you're in the Army.
You knew what you were up to,
yeah.
Why did you become a medic? Was that something that you wanted, or did they tell you?
No, that wasn't my choosing, but I'm glad I did because I learned a lot.
Tell me, what did you learn?
how to take care of all the wounded during the Battle of the Bulge and then during Normandy, where we didn't set up until we got into Cherbourg, Germany, France.
Can I ask you about your training? Why do you think you were chosen to be a medic?
I really don't know. It it was a luck of the draw.
Luck of the draw.
That's all it was.
And what was your training like?
It was a good training.
Yeah?
Basic training was down at Fort Bowie, Texas, and then we went into Fort Sam Houston for medical training.
Right.
We spent 8 hours a day in medical training.
Now, some guys don't do well as medics because they don't like the sight of blood, or that didn't bother you.
Never bothered me.
Huh. Tell me about shipping overseas. When did you go overseas?
Well, we left New York, New Jersey, and then took 13 days to get to Europe. We landed in Wales, and we went we had to wait for I guess they call them the stevedores, the ship guys that take care of the ship, unloading the ship. So we had to wait till they had their tea. So it took about an hour. After 13 days on board, we were ready to go.
Did you get seasick?
One day, a little story, one of our sergeants, he had just gotten a new set of teeth, and he got seasick, and his teeth are in the ocean somewhere. We had a mess hall, but we didn't have no barracks. We were billeted in private homes. Me and my buddy, we were billeted out of town. So the little town called Upton-on-the-Severn in England, and we got all the bicycles. We had bicycles ride back and forth to town, about 5 miles. It was nothing. Me and my buddy, we were billeted in private homes.
Who was your buddy?
Kenny Kimmel from Missouri.
And he was a medic also?
Yeah.
Did you ship over as the whole 45th Field Hospital together?
Yeah.
So you were assigned to the 45th, or the 45th?
Well, the 45th Field Hospital was divided in 3 units. We were unit number 1, 2, and 3. They had the nurses and doctors back and forth.
And what unit were you in?
I was unit number 1.
You were unit 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we did have our good times and our bad. Our unit got shelled one night, and we had a young nurse killed, and a enlisted man killed, and a major killed.
Right.
I can always remember that.
And do you remember the preparation for D-Day, getting ready?
Well, they said, okay, all you guys pack your bags, and we're going to go over to France at 3 o'clock in the morning. We shipped out.
And you were loaded onto LSTs?
Well, we went across so far to and through the channel on a ocean-going ferry.
Got it.
And then we got so close, and then we had to get into a landing barge.
So you did climb down the rope cargo net and into the landing craft.
Yeah. And we stopped off the shore about half a mile on a sandbar and walked in.
Now, when you were still on the ferry, I assume that D-Day, June 6th, you were still out in the channel on the ferry.
Yeah.
Could you see the shore?
Not quite, no, I was too far out. And that's when we climbed down the rope ladders into the landing barge. It was just a sad thing to see all the guys laying around in the water dead. You couldn't let things overcome you. You had to see it and forget it.
Were you scared?
I wouldn't say scared because I was 19 then. I was only 19. I was used to things that taken place, and I learned how to handle when I was younger. I just set my mind I could handle anything that come down the pipe.
Wow.
That was it.
What tell me the time when you first really experienced being shot at, feeling the incoming. Was it that day landing on the beach?
Well, if it weren't for the engineers digging a garbage pit, that's where we ended up diving into a garbage pit to avoid the shelling.
Wow, just when you landed?
Now, it was after. This was after. That's when the nurse and enlisted major was killed, and that night we got shelled.
And that was that June 7th? Did you land on D-Day +1?
Yeah. This was a week later or two. We were out in the field set up for our hospital.
Yeah, could you tell me about that? What was your job? What did you do when you landed on the beach?
Well, I was a medical technician. You would give shots, draw blood, take care of it, change bandages and all that stuff. Yeah.
And was the hospital, did you set up the hospital?
Yeah, we had to do all that. And that was the toughest part. Them tents, them hospital tents, they didn't weigh no 10 pounds. They weighed a couple 100 pounds. It took about 5 or 6 guys to put one up.
How far inland did you set it up? How far in did you have to go to set it up?
Well, we set them up as close to the...
Right on the beach?
No, this was up in Cherbourg,
Okay.
outside of Cherbourg. That's where we set our hospital up.
Okay.
And then other things that happened, we were told never pick a body up because of the fact the Germans sometimes would booby trap the bodies or would have to tie a rope around their leg and drag them out.
Wow. Did you have to help guys who were hit, on the ground,
No.
or no? You were in the hospital?
They were in the hospital then. We had, during the Battle of the Bulge, we were in a little old schoolhouse. It was set up as a hospital. Guys with arms blown off, legs blown off. That was close near the end of the war when there was a declaration. This one tanker we got in, and he had an arm and a leg blown off. And what we did was shipped them back to Paris after they were recouped a little bit, and I've seen them all.
Tell me about a week later after you landed, you said you were shelled, your hospital was shelled?
Yeah. Shelling started about, say, 8 o'clock at night, and for some reason, our tents were all marked with a Red Cross and everything. I know damn well that the Germans knew we were a hospital. For some reason, why they dropped a few shells, 88 shells in, and that's when the nurse was killed and the major was killed. Lieutenant Francis Slanger.
Slanger. Francis, did you know Francis Slanger?
Huh?
Did you know her?
Well, we worked with her, and she was from Boston. I think she was just out of nursing school not too long.
And she became pretty darn famous after she was killed.
Well, she was buried over in Normandy.
Yeah.
People don't know this, but most of 90% of your open fields in France, the Germans knew there was going to be an invasion. They put telephone poles up, so when the gliders come in, they wipe them out. Then further north, they dropped dummies out of the plane that the Germans make them think that the invasion was starting right there. We had a couple of guys that just couldn't handle it, and they shipped them out and shipped them home.
Did you ever treat any enemy, any German soldiers?
No, but we had a Russian. And boy, he was a tough guy. He wouldn't do what you told him, and we said, well, you better do it or we get big hyper needles out and show them.
So your kind of hospital, did you have to kind of keep moving with the front?
Yeah, we were never 5 miles away from the battle line.
Wow.
We didn't have helicopters or planes to fly in. We had ambulances.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Did you ever go in an ambulance to go get guys, or were you really...
No, we unloaded them.
You unloaded them when they came in.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And what did you do when the guys came in? I mean, what kind of thing?
We were organized. Every ambulance come in, a certain group of men would take care of whatever patients were in the ambulance and take them into the hospital tent, and the doctors were the first ones to see them. Right. And we kept them until they recuperated or got somewhat better. I wouldn't say completely. Yeah.
And then they would be shipped to Paris or London or...
Yeah, we shipped them back to Paris,
right.
General Hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Battle of the Bulge. That was a big surprise in December.
Oh, it was. That was a nice sunny day, and that's when we were on this Bastogne, and we looked up and then we heard this. That's the first inkling that they knew they had jets. The Germans had jets.
And you must have received a lot of casualties during the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah. Well, the top number we had was about 40 patients in this old school building.
Do you remember good times? Were there good times?
Oh, yeah. Well, in this little town, when after our duties, we could ride around on our bicycles and everything, and we were saluting, and this young doctor, he wasn't much older than me, he was saluting, and he fell off and broke his arm. And then the order come out next day, no saluting on bicycles. When we was waiting ashore, the lieutenant, he says, you guys follow me. So we turned around, he stepped in a shell hole. We weren't going to follow him.
Now, I've heard that field hospitals were also a source of alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, our cook, he was the poorest guy from Wilkes-Barre, and he would wheel and deal with the supply sergeant. He said, we'll trade you for this, we'll trade you for that. We'd always end up with pretty good food then. Yeah.
That scenario's never changed.
Yeah, that's right.
I got a few of them.
Still going on in the
Yeah,
Army.
that scenario never
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
Do you remember the cold weather of the Battle of the Bulge? How cold it
Yeah.
got?
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't have no barracks. We lay in December. We laid on the ground and wrapped ourselves up in the blankets. Well, then later on, we set up a tent for our guys to sleep in. After some nights we didn't.
How'd you stay warm?
Well, we used to take one of our wool blankets and take it to a tailor, and then make a warm jacket for us.
Tell me about the end of the war. Do you remember when VE Day came?
Oh, that was great.
Where were you? Tell me about it.
We were in Pilsen, Czechoslovakia, and we were celebrating. The whole town was celebrating. Another goofy thing we do. The GIs would get on they had trolley cars, and they were going out through town. The guys would be bouncing. It was at an airfield station by an air, but we had barracks, so it was great.
So when the war ended and you're in Czechoslovakia, what did you do then? Did you then make your way back to France and ship back home?
We shipped back in a boxcar back to France, and then got to where they were shipping. Got to the Mediterranean. We shipped out of the Mediterranean, but you never wanted to sleep up on top, or on the bottom, rather, because guys get seasick and.
What was it like to come back home?
Oh, it was. We came back and landed in, I think it was New York, and it was great.
Did you feel different after having that experience when you got home? I mean, did you feel more mature?
Well, I didn't live too long. Unfortunately, there was a company called Vaughan, Crown and Cork, and I went up there, and the guy said, "When do you want to start to work?" I said, "Anytime." He said, "Well, you can come in tomorrow. We'll see what we can do." They used to make the bottle caps for the beer bottles. It's Vaughan, Crown and Cork. Yeah, that was it.
And you got a job there?
Yeah. Then they said, "All right, we're going to send a couple guys to trade school and become machinists. So you have to pass a test." So I passed the test, and I went to Connolly Trade School at night and learned to become a machinist then. They said, "Why didn't you pursue medical?" I said, "Well, I've seen enough."
Did you ever have a problem with nightmares or bad dreams or,
Not really.
No.
Not really. I'd think about it once in a while, but you couldn't let that overtake you.
Thank you so much, Glenn. This was absolutely wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.